Okay, doke.
And let me just make sure we're connected.
Okay.
We are live.
All
Hello,
right.
everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome back to one of our final interviews on the Mend Yourself Well 21-day Facebook Live Summit. I'm your host, Dr. Jenna Zellers, wellness expert, life coach, chiropractor, and we are here today with a dear friend, a patient of mine, a fellow life coach, and someone that I think very highly of, Miss Sequita Myers Carlisle. Hello, how are you? And welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm glad you're here. We go way back. You first were a patient of mine like 8 years
Yes,
ago, and you still get adjusted every 2 weeks. And
yes,
it's been really fun because we've both been growing kind of side by side in our little
absolutely.
inner lives, in our
Absolutely.
spiritual paths, our professional paths, and then growing a life coaching business.
Right, right,
If
right,
anybody knows about growing a life coaching business, you don't just like hang up a shingle and you have a ton of clients. Like
right.
it just it takes a lot of work and persistence. And you're here today, and you're on Facebook Live all the time, telling your story. And I'm just so excited to expand your audience because I know that you have a lot of great things to share. Everyone who comes into this group, I ask them three questions:
Mhm,
how they heard about our group,
mhm.
what is their greatest struggle in mending themselves well, and then what they currently do to mend themselves well. And I think that you're going to be helping a lot of people in this group because you have a very personal story of overcoming grief. Well, I don't know, you'll have to say if it's something you ever overcome,
Right,
but
right.
you found grace on the other side of it. And people in this group, they need that. We are all trying to mend ourselves well, and we need different puzzle pieces. And you have this, you bring this beautiful piece that I know I couldn't do. So why don't you just dive in and tell us your story and who you are and why you're doing what you're doing?
Okay, thanks. Well, everybody, I'm Sequita Myers Carlisle, and I'm a mom of three sons. One of my sons, Cameron, I was able to have him in my life because of my wonderful husband, William. And my second son is little William. I nurtured him and I birthed him. And then my son, Ethan, who's 7, grew in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And as Dr. Jenna has said, I am a spiritual life coach. I also am a soon to be published author with a group of ladies. The book is called The Beauty in My Mess. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a social marketer and I love makeup and I work full time.
You
Um,
wear a lot of hats.
I do wear a lot of hats. And it's because I think of all the experiences that I've been through in my life, mainly the death of my son, has made me realize that life is way too short to get stuck in the weeds of our life. Like we need to be plucking those weeds out and moving forward and sharing whatever your testimony is with the world because God gave you your testimony so that you could go and share it, not to keep it, but to share it with others to make them strong. Because really, at the end of the day, all people want is hope.
Mm-hmm.
They want hope. And so, as I went through my grief journey, it wasn't until I was authentic with myself that I was able to start to move through the grief. I think a lot of times when grief happens, and grief is going to happen to every one of us. And I think as a society, we think about grief mainly the physical death of a loved one, a friend, someone that you care about. But the truth of the matter is, grief comes in many, many shapes and forms. And I think if we as a society recognize that sooner, we're able to move and navigate our grief journey. Grief happens when you get a divorce. It is a period. Grief happens when you lose a job. Grief happens when catastrophes happen. South Carolina, those people are grieving. And so, yes, I lost my son and it's a physical loss, but grief, walking your grief journey can happen in any area. And so when you're authentic with yourself during your grief journey, you're able to open up your spirit and your soul to be able to receive from others, to be able to receive from God. But it's only when you're when you lament, when you are able to fall down and cry about it and not hold it in, not be concerned about what your spouse maybe is feeling, maybe not concerned, but everybody's journey is individual. So when my husband and I went through our grief journey, it was very different. And the things that we went through could have broken up and does break up a lot of relationships because you don't know how to navigate what you didn't ask for, the club that you never wanted to join, losing a child. It is not a fun club, but we were able to lean on each other at certain times, but also our relationships, our individual relationships with God helped us, because I remembered always that William is God's son first, and I, Sequita, am God's daughter first. And if I am feeling some sort of way, I need to take it to God first. And he can help me navigate what he wants me to do. So our grief journey, at first, mine was not authentic. Everything was okay. I pretended everything was okay. I went about my day's business, trying to block it out of my mind. It wasn't until I realized that, you know what? Hey, God is my friend. And so just as I would go to you or another friend and just be able to lament and cry and be anguished and angry and hurt, I could do that with God. And it was at that point that he showed me the grace that I had been looking for to help me to walk out my journey. And you said earlier, overcoming it, but it is something truly that you never overcome. Like, there is a life before your loved one died or whatever that grief moment was for you, and there is a you afterwards. And sometimes it's not the same person, and that's perfectly okay. And I think that it depends a lot how your loved one or what your circumstance of your grief was on how authentic you can be. For example,
I would love to talk about that, because in my coaching world, I talk about finding your authentic self, but it doesn't, I've never taught anything about grief. Talk about what it looks like, maybe a contrast between an authentic path for grief and an inauthentic path. Like, what are those differences, and how would someone find their authentic grieving path to take?
Well, the authentic route, an example would be, let's say your spouse committed suicide. There's a stigma around that, right? You don't really want to talk about it. And someone who is authentic with their feelings, they're able to share, this is what my spouse was struggling with, and yes, he or she chose to do this.
So
go ahead.
So there's it's like a vulnerability side. Yes. Like you just you're able to just okay, this happened, and I'm going to say, this is my truth.
Yes.
This is all of it. And I'm accepting it rather
Absolutely. And I am accepting it beyond what anybody else thinks about it, beyond what anyone else's opinion is of what our situation was and how my spouse died. I'm living authentically. This is what happened, but I can't move past it. I'm gonna lie about it or
sugarcoat it.
Yes, or sugarcoat it. Absolutely. So on the opposite, the same situation would be not being honest about it, not coming to terms with it yourself, that this is what happened, and being able to step back from it and think about, what could I have done better? What could we have talked about? Keeping all those things bottled up doesn't progress you down your grief journey.
No. Yeah.
And it is a journey. There are stages. Everybody knows Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, and they truly do happen. And what I would caution or remind those who maybe aren't in a grief moment right now, but they have a loved one who's grieving something, is don't say to them, call me if you need me, because we're never going to call you. We're in the moment of grief, and we're never going to reach out to you to say, we need to go have a cup of coffee and just talk.
But is it good to like invite that person, like
yes.
come have coffee with
yes.
you? Okay.
Don't bombard them, but reach out to them. Because that is what I hear from most people is the funeral happens and everybody's around offering their condolences, bringing food to your house, sending flowers, checking on you. Yes, bombarding you. And then the funeral's over and nobody calls.
Everyone disappears.
And so that I learned that during our journey. And the other thing I would remind people who maybe aren't in a grief journey but have someone who's in it is whomever their loved one is, they still want to hear their name. And you may make them cry when you talk about that loved one, but really we love it because we want our loved one's memory to go on, and we like to talk about them. And it is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable for the person who is reaching out to the person who's in their grief journey. I get that. I totally get it. But we as friends and loved ones have to set aside our feelings and think about our loved one who is going through, because they need that. They need to know that people still care about them and that people haven't just forgotten that they just buried their loved one last week. The other thing that I would remind people is if you're going through an experience together with someone, my grief journey is different than yours. You may run through the steps of grief and be ready to move on, but don't rush me.
Everyone's on their own journey.
And it's okay. It is okay. Whoever watches this, it is okay for you to take as long as you need to move through the phases of grief so that when you get out on the other side of it, you are a stronger person. You have more grace. You're mending yourself as you're going through those steps because you're being authentic to your feelings. You're just being your authentic self. And that's really all God wants us to be, is he wants us not to put up walls. He doesn't want us to put on airs and pretend that things are great when they're not great. He knows, after all he really wants from us is for us to cry out to him and say what we need. Like, he wants us to test him. The scripture in the Bible that says, by his stripes you're healed. And I think people take that scripture as you are terminally ill or something like that. But healing is through grief. Healing is through sickness. And so he wants us to test him. He wants us to remind him, God, you told me that by your stripes you would heal me. And I am depending on you to do that.
Right.
It's
not a quick fix. It's not a like, okay, I'm going to cry and I'll be better tomorrow. Like, and that's the whole process with mending. It's like that in itself means that you have to have patience, that it's a process. It's a journey.
It is a journey.
And you brought up a really good point that I feel like ties in a lot of the other conversations we've been having in the summit. What you said about how it's going to make the other person uncomfortable when they go and, and possibly make the griever cry.
Right.
But that is connection.
Yes.
By doing that and getting that person to cry, and maybe you'll feel uncomfortable, but you're actually connecting with that person when you do that. And what we've talked about in so many of our other conversations is the need and the desire to connect. Like, we all need to connect more. And sometimes maybe it is through grieving with someone over the loss of a loved one.
It totally is. The other thing that I would say is, and as you're moving through your grief journey, there comes a point where you are able to reach out to people and want to spend time with them. And sometimes you're having that conversation with a friend and you're not asking for advice. So I would say to those who are participating with the person who's grieving, don't feel like you have to have the answers. You don't. You just simply have to be a listening ear or a shoulder to cry on, or someone to make that person laugh just to get their mind off of what they're going through. But you really should take your lead from your friend that you happen to be hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I would remind people, that it's funny because whenever I go live, I always say, okay, I'm not going to talk about God. Like, I'm going to have a live without talking about God.
How can you?
I can't.
Yeah.
I try and I can't.
Yeah.
And so I just want to remind anyone who watches this that Jeremiah 29:11 says that God knows the plans that he has for you. Like, he has written out what is going to happen in your life before you were born. He formed you in your mother's womb. And if he wrote it out for you, there's a master plan to help you get through it. And he is not an invasive God. Sometimes he'll wait for you to ask. So I would just say it's okay to ask. When you're in your grief, when you're helping someone through grief, just ask the question, because either they're going to tell you yes, whatever else they need to do, or they're going to say, no, I don't need that. But the grace that I've found through the journey of the loss of our son has been what God has given me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Like, he has made me want to do so many more things in my life.
Yeah.
And I think before my son, life was great, I thought. But looking back, it was mediocre. And even though he took our son and he only gave him to us for 6.5 months, it changed our life more than I could even put into words. And he has blessed us at every turn.
Yeah.
He has sent amazing people into our lives. He has blessed us with amazing opportunities like my book. William, my husband, has books, and he's given me the desire to really help people to understand that there's more to life than your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
There is just more that is available to you, and all you have to do is activate it.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. You have to say, this is what I want to do, and believe that you can do it and you can achieve it. Life is too short to just be tied down to a desk and work for the man. Like, there's more to life than just that. And my heart's desire is that everybody knows who they are in Christ, that he created you to be the best you. And nobody's opinion matters but his and yours. And if you can take a grasp and hold of that, the sky's the limit for you, because with him on your side, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that you can't achieve that he doesn't want to happen for you in your life.
You're kind of repeating a lot of the same things that yesterday was talked about in The Power of the Subconscious Mind. It's like you're repeating, like, that's what's so great about all of these messages is there's a common theme. Like, you are made for greatness, and it's there, it's free, like it's in you. You just have to tap into it.
Absolutely.
And you can utilize the master planner to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. And I think a testament to you and how you birthed this idea. I know that as you were given these ideas, that you didn't just pick women. Oh, I want this person. I believe that God gave you a true blueprint, if you will, of who was supposed to be a part of this 21-day Facebook summit. And that is why you can say that a lot of our stories are overlapping, because the blueprint was, I want this message to be read to the world. And it started with you.
Yeah.
And so you should be so, I don't know, just full of excitement.
Oh, I am. Like
humility and just thankfulness and gratefulness that you were able to put this together in like 48 hours.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you. And it was truly divine intervention.
Yes.
I mean, I like woke up one day. Actually, I had an idea on a Friday night and I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew that I wanted to bring a common message. And I didn't even have all the details worked out. It was just like, I had this vision, but I had no idea what the details would be like. And I slept on it Saturday morning. I had no plans that Saturday. And for 12 hours, I cranked it out. I was like, here's what it's going to look like. I had yes after yes after yes. And by Sunday night, I had 18 of the women lined up. And by Monday morning, I finalized the last 3. And so, it was all divine intervention. I can take no credit for it other than being the instrument that brought it all together. But it's
been amazing.
Been amazing. It really has. And
really
I thank you for being a part of it.
Thanks for following the blueprint.
Yes. And for being a part of it. And we're getting a lot of love on the Facebook post, as you can imagine. We have some comments here. Transparency. Our God has and always will restore. So true. Activate it. Sending you love and hearts. Beautiful. God cares about everything in our lives. And I love how God sends us comfort. I call them God hugs. I understand. I am a mommy of a rainbow baby. Our steps are orders by God.
Yes.
And yes. When does your book come out?
October 6th.
Oh, right around the corner.
Right around the corner, yes.
And how perfect is this that we're also a lot of people do, they go on as many podcasts and interviews as they can to launch their book.
Yes.
It's just really organic.
Yeah. And actually it worked out. It's from my life coach that certified me, is kind of the instrument behind it. And it's with 31 other women who have some amazing stories of tragedy, of triumph, but all of the stories show how God's perfect will is always comes to fruition.
I just got another idea. We should all put our stories together at the summit and create a Mend Yourself Well Summit book.
Absolutely. There you go.
Great.
There you go.
And what is the book called?
The Beauty in My Mess.
The Beauty in My Mess. And when it's arrived and people can actually order it or go buy it, make sure you put a link in this community. So
I will.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add before we call it a night?
No, I say no, but I just want people to remember that, like someone said, your steps are ordered, and don't allow other people's opinions of you to have more weight in your life than your opinions.
Whether, and I'll add this, whether you're grieving or not.
Whether you're grieving or not. Absolutely.
That was my problem is for 31, 32 years, I cared way too much about what people thought. And it made me unwell. And so I knew I had to mend myself well. And the thing that has made the biggest difference is letting go of whatever other people care about me.
Absolutely. That's the first step it is in mending yourself well.
Yes. I love it. Now, before we wrap it up, we're going to pick a winner for today's giveaway. So yesterday I talked to Barbie Butta, and she is going to give away a hour consultation for uncovering your, how to utilize the power of the subconscious mind in your own life. So have you help me pick a winner for that? And you are giving away something that will be given away on tomorrow's interview. And what is your giveaway?
So I'm going to give away a 30-minute free life coaching session to the winner.
So valuable. So valuable. And since God will have something to do with it, I'm sure he'll pick the perfect winner for you.
Absolutely, he will.
Great. Okay. So I need you to help me pick a number between 2 and 111. I love 111s, and it's so perfect.
Well, that is perfect. So I'm going to say 111.
Oh my goodness. Crazy. So this is a friend of Barbie's, and it's Tahishri. So I'll tag that person in the group and connect you guys, that's for the
with Barbara, yes.
And how cool. Barbie gets to give the gift to one of her friends.
So that's cool.
Yeah, and a lot of your friends have been winning the gift.
I know. I'm excited about that.
Great. So we'll pick your winner tomorrow.
Okay.
and we'll connect you guys.
Okay.
And tomorrow I get to spend the whole day with you. I'm so
Stay with me. I'm so
excited.
looking forward to
You're going
it.
to be one of the
Great.
beautiful, lovely, talented, bright, shining stars in a room that I get to have the privilege of pouring my heart and soul into you guys and helping you just shine brighter than you've ever imagined. So
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another Mend Yourself Well episode. And we will be back tomorrow with one of our final episodes in the summit. So thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
One step at a time, keep mending yourself well. Have a great evening. Bye, Sequita. Bye.